You fainted right away. This is the most honest reaction I've ever seen when my Dharma body descends. When she pouted, massaging her still sore neck and forehead. TSK. She snorted in dissatisfaction. Sister thought you were dead, too heartbroken, plus working overtime for 72 hours recently, lack of sleep, low blood sugar. Do you understand? She took a few steps. Suddenly remembering something, stopped, turned her head, and looked at Su Yunjua with a strange expression. In fact, today was my first time independently dealing with a crime scene. Assisting a forensic expert from the city bureau with the preliminary examination. A body fished out from an abandoned pond outside the town. It had been submerged for at least 3 months. That condition was quite special. She seemed to be organizing her words. Trying to describe the dual impact of visuals and smells with professional terminology, the giant view was very obvious. The skin showed a dirty green color. Parts of the epidermis had shed, forming glove-like and sock-like changes. The decayed vascular network was clearly visible. The eyeballs were protruding, with the lips averted. Do you want to see the photos? I just took a few close-ups with the law enforcement recording device. They haven't been archived yet. The clarity is decent. Especially the details of the face and the damage at the finger joints, which have significant research value. She had already pressed the switch on the recording device. Su Yunjua. He instantly floated back 2 meters. Shadows and light created a lingering image in the air. Wait, no need. Thank you. Absolutely not necessary. He spoke rapidly, making a big X with his hands in front of his chest. I'm not interested in this at all. Keep your professional materials. This is your job. I fully respect that. Stop. Don't look. Put it away. He saw when she was really starting to operate the recording device. The screen had already lit up. The sound was changing pitch. Sister, don't. We're on the same side. When she looked at his reaction and finally couldn't help but laugh. Look at your little courage. She put away the recording device, her tone lightening a bit. And you call yourself a cultivator? Can't even bear to look at a giant view photo. If you really encountered monsters, would you hide behind me? Su Yunjua floated back, following her side. Retorting without any good humor. That's called respecting the deceased and protecting my eyes. Besides, monsters might not be as impactful as the giant view. When she burst into laughter, the sound echoed in the empty old street, dispelling some of the late-night chill. A few minutes later, they stopped in front of an old 5-story building. Su Yunjua followed when she into a small but tidy single room. It was a typical temporary dormitory for a grassroots unit. Furnished simply to the point of being crude. A single iron frame bed, an old wooden table, a chair, and a simple fabric wardrobe. Su Yunjua felt that the setup was about right, and the atmosphere had eased from the earlier fright and jokes. It was time to get down to business. He cleared his throat. Sister Shi, I'm here this time because I need a favor from you. When she raised an eyebrow, go ahead. I need to borrow your body for a bit. Huh. When she was just reaching for the thermos on the table to drink water. Upon hearing this, she almost spat out the water. She turned her head abruptly, her beautiful eyes instantly widening in disbelief as she stared at the serious Su Yunjua. Do you have the guts to tease your sister? She took a step forward, leaning closer to Su Yunjua's semi-transparent face, her eyes narrowing. Actually, it's not impossible. But she changed her tone, extending her index finger and poking it into Su Yunjua's heart. Can you even reach me, little Zhou? Su Yunjua fell silent for 3 seconds. Then, he decided to skip all the pointless conversation and go straight to the point. In the next moment, deep within when she's consciousness, she suddenly heard a clear voice. Request for temporary possession and consciousness synchronization permission. Initiator, Su Yunjua. Duration, 5 minutes. Status, pending confirmation. When she... The teasing smile on her face instantly froze. She blinked. So you really want to use my body? She muttered softly, a hint of inexplicable disappointment in her tone. She pouted and murmured in a volume only she could hear. I thought you finally got it, but I got overly excited for nothing. Due to her deep-rooted trust in Su Yunjua and an overwhelming curiosity to see what he could do. She responded promptly at the consciousness level. Permission confirmed. Temporary possession allowed. Warning. Do not engage in dangerous or illegal activities. Countdown. For minutes 59 seconds. In an instant. When she clearly felt that the control of her body had been temporarily and partially transferred. However, her consciousness remained clear, and her senses were still sharp. Only her movements were no longer entirely driven by her own will. Su Yunjua successfully took control. Now, this tall, strong, and youthful body was temporarily under his command. When she's consciousness watched from the sidelines, filled with curiosity. Is this what possession feels like? It doesn't seem that special. Except I can't move. Then she saw her hand reaching for the zipper of her jacket. Hey, she shouted in her mind. What are you doing taking off your clothes? Just the jacket. Su Yunjua's voice resonated directly in her thoughts, sounding a bit helpless. It's for convenience for the next action. Don't worry, I won't touch places I shouldn't. He skillfully removed Wenxi's dark blue police jacket, folded it neatly, and draped it over the back of a chair. Beneath the uniform was a fitted dark gray sports tank top. The fabric was thin, highly elastic, tightly wrapping around her body. The smooth shoulder line, straight and strong collarbone, well-defined abdominal muscles, and quite pronounced chest outline created a clear and healthy curve under the tank top. Wenxi's years of intense training gave her a physique that exuded a sense of strength and healthy beauty. Chapter 166. It's going to be impressive seeing her eyes widen for a moment, when she couldn't help but smile proudly. TSK. This figure of mine, not bad, right? After so many years of training, I haven't skipped any muscle group. Chest, abs, back, none missed. I'm in a good mood today, so I allow you to, admire it a little longer. Su Yunjua sighed. Sister Shi, I have important things to do. What important things? Wenxi's inner voice carried a hint of mischief. Isn't this the main event? You can check your body as much as you want. I don't mind. Before she could finish, she saw her hand reaching for the cracked smartphone on the table. Her fingers swiped the screen, opened the camera, and switched to video mode. Then she propped the phone against the wall at the edge of the table, aiming the lens at the area in front of the table. Wait. Wenxi's inner voice instantly changed tone. What are you doing with my phone? No recording. Su Yunzhou, I warn you. If you dare to record anything weird. I was wrong. Suddenly, she realized something, and her inner voice took on a hint of panic. Give my body back. I'm not playing anymore. This is an invasion of privacy. It's illegal. Boo-hoo. Xiaozhou, you can't do this to me. If you record it, please don't send it out. Sushi rolled her eyes. This gesture, made by Wenxi's handsome face, seemed completely natural. Can you be a little quieter? Su Yunzhou said helplessly in her mind. Am I that kind of person? The recording is just to keep a memory. Because what's about to happen, he paused. Injecting a bit of seriousness into his tone, is worth recording. After saying that, Su Yunzhou entered the game interface and went to the shop. He searched for Master Pianist Experience Card. Redeem. Cost, 1,000 shop coins. Confirm redemption. Confirm. Ding. Redemption successful. Master Pianist, 5-minute experience card, activated. Description, integrates the essence of all piano art schools from ancient to modern times, granting the user peak performance skills, unparalleled absolute musicality, and transcendent improvisational ability. Duration, 5 minutes. Status, loaded into the current host Wenxi. Sushi's body trembled slightly. He felt the skill data stream of the master pianist flood into the nerve endings of this body, muscle memory, and even every cell. His hearing became extraordinarily sharp. Able to distinguish the subtle sounds of dust colliding in the air, his perception of rhythm, intensity, and space was elevated to an unimaginable dimension. Sushi turned around and walked to the old, scratched wooden table. There was no piano, no keyboard, no strings, only the bare, hard darkwood surface. On the table lay a half-opened book titled Criminal Investigation, along with the cracked smartphone, which was recording with a red dot. Sushi slowly raised both hands. His fingers were long, with distinct joints and rounded tips. But at this moment, the posture of these hands changed. They were no longer stable and powerful as when holding a gun, nor were they casually picking up things as usual. Instead, they exhibited an extreme relaxation and readiness. With the wrists slightly lowered, fingers naturally bent, and fingertips hovering about 5 centimeters above the table surface, like the hands of a true pianist, waiting for the moment to touch the keys. Wenxi watched curiously in her mind. What are you going to do? Perform a monkey dance? Su Yunzhou was silent for a moment, feeling the torrent of data brought by the experience card, then calmly said, Sister Shi, please remember this moment. He paused, the corners of his mouth curling slightly, because it will be very impressive. When she, impressive? In this shabby dormitory? Are you going to perform military boxing or smash stones on your chest? In the next second, Sushi's 10 fingers suddenly fell. Tap. The first sound. Very light. The tip of her index finger tapped the center of the table, producing a crisp, short, clean sound. Tap, tap. The middle finger and ring finger followed suit. The rhythm was clear, the force even. Tap, 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 tap. The speed began to pick up. The sound of her fingers dancing, crisp and filled with an unusual rhythm, suddenly echoed in the silent dormitory. Impressive? You call this madness impressive? At first, when she was a bit confused, thinking this was just random tapping on the table. But just 5 or 6 seconds later, her awareness suddenly tightened. The tapping sound changed. It was no longer chaotic noise. Despite being merely the sound of fingers colliding with wood, under Sushi's exquisite control of force and landing, it produced distinct variations in pitch, strength, and length. What was even more astonishing was that the sounds formed a complex, magnificent piano melody that sent shivers down her spine. Yes, a complete and splendid piano piece, performed with 10 fingers on a wooden table, transcending the ordinary. Wenxi's mind went completely blank. She listened to the complex and exhilarating table piano piece that should not have existed in this setting. She watched as her hands became 2 blurry shadows on the table, moving so fast they left afterimages. The piece was unfamiliar to her, the melody strange yet soul-stirring. It began with a soothing, slightly melancholic solo, like the whispers of a lone traveler in the deep night. Then the rhythm gradually accelerated, harmonies joined in, emotions layered, like an undercurrent surging. As it reached its climax, Sushi's hands seemed to dance into a storm. The left hand struck a heavy bass rhythm on the left side of the table, like a heartbeat, while the right hand swept across the right side, producing high notes as brilliant as a starry river. The two intertwined, clashed, and fused. The vibrations of the table spread through her arms to her entire body, when she could even feel the resonance in her chest, the acceleration of her blood, and a tingling sensation on her scalp. In the cramped, shabby dormitory, under the dim white light, with walls marked by time and corners piled high with instant noodle boxes, a stunning contrast unfolded, a soul-shaking performance without a piano. In Wenxi's mind, there were no more complaints, jokes, or distractions. Only one thought remained, flashing across her consciousness with bold, shining golden edges. Wow. So really impressive. As the last tap concluded, the air still hummed with vibrations. Silence. Only the distant barking of a dog could be heard from somewhere outside. When she slowly lowered her hands, turned around, and faced the camera on her phone. On Wenxi's handsome and spirited face, there was a calmness now, yet it carried a heat reminiscent of smoldering embers. Beads of sweat formed on her forehead, her breath slightly quickened, and her chest gently rose and fell with each breath. But her eyes were bright, bright like the most brilliant high note from the earlier performance. Su Yunzhou softly said in his mind, "It's done. The piece is recorded. Thank you for your body, Sister Shi. Now, it's time to return things to their rightful owner." Consciousness synchronization released. Chapter 167, July 9th. An ordinary day when she blinked. She regained control of her body. She picked up her phone and opened the video they had just recorded. On the screen, she saw herself in a tight tank top, standing in front of a broken wooden table, her hands striking the surface like a madwoman. There was no piano, yet she had played a dazzlingly beautiful piece that shattered all conventional understanding. When she stared at the screen for a full minute, then she lifted her head and looked at Su Yunjo, who was floating nearby, waiting for her reaction. Her expression was complex. There was shock, confusion, doubt, but mostly excitement. A fiery thrill, like discovering a new world. She licked her slightly dry lips and spoke, her voice a bit hoarse with excitement. Xiaozhou, I believe you are a cultivator now. How can one find such music in the mortal realm? By the way, what is it called? Is it the Dance of the Rainbow Robes? Su Yunjo floated a bit closer, looking at the final frame on the screen where she was striking the table. He paused for 2 seconds, then softly said, to Sister Shi, when she was taken aback, a homage to Alice? If Beethoven knew someone was paying tribute to him with a table, he'd probably rise from his grave to debate music theory with you. Su Yunjo chuckled. Then he'd first have to learn how to traverse time and space. When she laughed too, it wasn't a mocking laugh or a joking laugh. It was a heartfelt, refreshing, and even slightly proud laugh. All right. She carefully placed her phone on the table, as if setting down a fragile treasure. Then she turned to Su Yunjo, her gaze serious. Thank you for playing this piece with my body. As a reward, she pointed to herself. Whenever you need to use a body, just ask. I'll always leave you a VIP access. Su Yunjo hovered in midair. Silent for 3 seconds, there's no need to phrase it so ambiguously. Xiaozhou, your thoughts aren't pure. When she burst into laughter, the sound echoed in the small dorm room, making the window panes hum. Su Yunjo smiled, feeling it was time to return. I'll step out for a moment. Good luck, Sister Shi. In the future, he paused, as if prophesying or stating a fact that was already written. You are destined to become the queen of criminal investigation. When she smiled slightly, murmuring to herself, Queen of criminal investigation? Sounds exhilarating. Reality. In the bathroom, Su Yunjo suddenly opened his eyes. Consciousness shifted from the cramped dormitory in Qingyang Town in 2017 back to the restroom of the Binzhou Olympic Sports Center in 2025. Only a few seconds had passed. He quickly uninstalled the program, closed his laptop, and placed it beside the sink. Taking a deep breath, he pushed the door open and stepped out. The corridor was dimly lit, and in the distance, the sound of thunderous cheers echoed from within the venue. Songjiru, July 9th. Come out. The shouts were mixed with anxiety, anticipation, impatience, and a sort of collective fervor. He took a step forward, walking towards the center of the stage that gathered all the light and expectations. His pace was steady and unhurried. As he appeared at the entrance of the stage from the side, the staff in charge of the scene clearly froze for a moment, instinctively wanting to stop him. But upon meeting Su Yunjo's gaze, they inexplicably stepped aside. That gaze was calm and profound, seemingly burdened with the weight of countless encounters with life and death, as well as the tumult of change. It was not the look one would expect from someone in their early 20s. It was the tranquility and certainty of someone who had witnessed grand events and had the power of life and death in their hands. Su Yunjo stepped onto the stage. The spotlight swept across his shoulder, and soon, more light converged, enveloping him. He walked up to Song Jiaru, standing where the ring pointed. The entire venue fell silent. It was as if someone had pressed the mute button. Even the sound of glowing sticks waving disappeared. Countless gazes, filled with surprise, scrutiny, and disbelief, were fixed on this suddenly appearing young man. He was too young. He looked no more than in his early 20s, handsome, dressed simply in a Chinese-style suit. Standing tall like a pine tree, he was indeed good-looking, even carrying a freshness typical of youth. But this was a stark contrast to everyone's imagination of the enigmatic, extraordinarily talented July 9th, who had produced numerous hit songs. He looked like a particularly good-looking senior from next door, or a rookie idol who had just debuted. How could this be the behind-the-scenes giant who had stirred the music world for a decade? How could he be the lyrical genius capable of writing songs like The Lone Brave, Stars and Sea, and Beyond Light Years, which carried such depth and grandeur? The intense collision between expectations and reality left many audience members' minds momentarily blank and deeply skeptical. The live streaming comments section even experienced a momentary freeze, as if millions had suddenly lost their words. Then, it erupted like a volcano. Is this really it? I've already taken off my pants just to see this? He handsome, but isn't he too young? Is there a mistake? Staff? Crazy fans rushing the stage? Where's the security? Jiaru, look at me. I also look like your long-lost boyfriend. Pick me. I don't believe it. This must be a stand-in. The real July 9th should be at least in his 30s, right? But he looks so good in that suit, like a nobleman from the Republic era. Wait, don't you think his eyes are a bit scary? They're too calm. Even Su Yunjo's childhood friend, Shenjia, who was sitting in the back row, wildly filming with his phone, was stunned. He stared at the increasingly familiar face on stage, his fingers trembling as he recorded a video to send to Su Yunju, adding a message filled with shock and absurdity. Su Go. Wow. This mysterious boyfriend of Song Jiru really looks just like you. It's almost identical. What's going on? Do you have a long-lost twin brother? On stage, Song Jiru looked at Su Yunju, who had truly walked up and stood before her. Tears welling up in her eyes once again. These were not tears of sadness, but rather hot tears of joy from recovering what was lost, dreams coming true, and the culmination of 10 years of waiting. She looked at him, at his unmasked, calm face facing all the cameras, so handsome and familiar. She saw the tenderness in his eyes, mingled with a unique depth of helplessness and a smile at this moment. With trembling lips, she whispered in a voice only they could hear, "Thank you, big brother." Su Yunju stood in front of her, before 30,000 live audience members and countless cameras. If it had been the ordinary programmer Su Yunju from before, he would have probably already been weak in the knees and blank in the mind, wishing he could disappear on the spot. But the current him, having gone through hundreds of high-stakes business negotiations alongside the business queen Lin Ruoxuan, had witnessed how the seasoned tycoons wielding trillions in capital could hide daggers behind smiles, and how Lin Ruoxuan could navigate through perilous situations with ease. In the storyline with Song Jiru, he had sculpted the shy girl, who would blush even at eye contact, into the dazzling music queen she was now. He had accompanied her through the awkwardness of her first signing event and had witnessed her excitement when she held her first trophy. In the narrative with Su Yunyu, he had seen the cruel realities of life and power struggles, experienced bullets whizzing past his ears, and watched the frail girl ascend to the throne step by step amidst a sea of corpses and blood. Public speaking, on-the-spot adaptability, commanding presence, and the psychological resilience required under the gaze of millions. These skills had been forged into his very being through countless trials in various storylines, becoming instinctive. At this moment, there was not a trace of stage fright. He took the microphone handed to him by a staff member. His voice, transmitted through top-notch sound systems, resonated throughout the venue, clear, steady, and carrying a strange soothing power. Hello everyone. He paused, his gaze sweeping over the vast sea of stars in the audience. It was July 9th. A wave of suppressed gasps erupted from the crowd. He continued, his tone calm, yet earnest. That was the day I first met Jiru. It wasn't a special holiday. There was no meteor shower, and the predicted apocalypse was still months away. It was just an ordinary day in the summer of 2012. But for her, for me. He turned to look at Song Jiru, who was beside him in her wedding dress, tears streaming down her face, his voice softening. Perhaps from that day on, things started to change. Chapter 168. A Song for You. As Su Yunju's words perhaps from that day on, things started to change hung in the air. The audience was still immersed in that tender resonance. But soon, many began to realize something. On July 9th, 2012, was that the day they first met? Soon, more and more audience members began to realize, and the entire venue started buzzing with excitement, as tens of thousands inhaled sharply at the same time. The live chat room exploded after a brief pause. So July 9th is the day they met for the first time? So he has been living in secrecy, not seeking fame or fortune, quietly hiding behind the scenes, using that date as a pen name, writing songs for her for a whole 13 years. I'm getting chills. This is more intense than any love confession. Every song written over 13 years is signed with the day I met you. Wait. Isn't this the script of Shun Mingyue's movie Writing Songs for You? That 13-year-old musical genius, Zhou Yunxiu, met his older sister and hid behind the internet, using a pseudonym to write songs for her, helping her reach the pinnacle. Wow. This July 9th looks significantly younger than Song Jiru. That's right. He.S. my high school classmate Su Yunju. He.S. only 26 this year, 5 years younger than Song Jiru. Wow. Zhou Yunxiu, Su Yunju. It all matches. It all matches. In the back row of the stands, Shen Jie held up his phone, feeling as if he had been struck by lightning. On his phone screen, messages from a group chat and private messages were popping up rapidly. Shen Jie, are you at the scene with your sister-in-law? Wow. Is that person on stage Su Yunju? It's definitely him. I recognize him even if he turned to ashes. He has been my dorm mate for 4 years. But how did he end up there? And become Song Jiru's mysterious boyfriend? No wonder he loved singing so much. It turns out he is July 9th. Shen Jie's fingers trembled. His lips quivered, wanting to say something but unable to make a sound. He looked at the familiar figure on stage, cloaked in countless lights, wearing a Zhongshan suit. He gazed at that handsome face he had known since childhood. He looked into those calm and deep eyes, which seemed to have accumulated 13 years of time. The biggest question arose. In 2012, Su Yunju was only 13 years old. How could a 13-year-old middle school student know Song Jiru, who was already 18 and in her senior year of high school at that time? Online friends? Music soulmates across the screen? Alright, that could barely explain it. But what about that astonishing talent for songwriting? That brilliance that swept the music scene, making countless professional musicians admire him? That remarkable mastery of melody and lyrics that seemed to flow through his veins? How could a 13-year-old child possess that? If he truly had such talent, why had no one known about it before? Why had he lived like an ordinary programmer, working overtime to pay off debts, selling his house due to his ex-girlfriend's betrayal, living a life that was, well, colorful? Shen Jie typed quickly on the screen, typing a paragraph, deleting it, typing again, deleting again. Finally, he could only tremble and send a disjointed message. Brother Su, are you really July 9th? The brave one stars and see light years away were all written by you? You've been hiding from the world for 13 years? And hiding from me for 13 years? You've played a huge game here. On the stage, bright lights enveloped Su Yunju and Song Jiru. Su Yunju could sense the emotional tide from the audience, but his expression remained calm. The way he looked at Song Jiru was tender enough to drown someone. Song Jiru's makeup was already in ruins from crying. She listened to the gasps from the audience, the discussions about July 9th being the day they met, and the sobs and screams that followed the realization. She bit her lower lip hard, trying not to cry out loud, but the tears wouldn't stop. She had never explained the meaning of this name in public. It was a secret that belonged solely to the two of them. And now he stood here, in front of the whole world, calmly revealing the mystery that had been hidden for 13 years. Hot tears streamed down Song Jiru's cheeks. Through her blurred vision, she looked at him, his handsome brows, straight nose, and the gentle smile on his lips. She saw the man who had quietly accompanied her for 13 years, through obscurity, through public doubt, and to the peak of glory, using that date as his pen name and writing countless songs for her. The audience erupted, no longer filled with doubt or shock, but with overwhelming, nearly frenzied emotion and blessings. Light sticks waved wildly, creating a sea of stars. The sounds of crying, screaming, and applause mixed together, with some voices hoarsely shouting for happiness, creating an emotional wave strong enough to lift the roof. They finally understood. They understood why Song Jiru had never explained her pen name over the years. They understood why every time she thanked July 9th during award speeches, her eyes were as tender as if reciting a love letter. They understood how she maintained that nearly stubborn purity and dedication in the entertainment industry. Because there was someone. From the day they met, he had written songs for her under that date for 13 years. He accompanied her from being an unknown to a superstar, always present at every important moment in her life. This was more than just love. It was companionship that had become part of her very being. It was a romance that transcended time. It was a long love letter written over an entire career, embedding I love you in every popular melody. So the whole world sang it, yet only they knew the truth. The ultimate low profile. The ultimate deep affection. The ultimate romance until death. On stage, Su Yunju felt the overwhelming wave of sound and tears almost drowning him. He stood quietly, waiting for the wave to ease. Su Yunju withdrew his gaze, looked at the audience, and spoke sincerely. So, today's main character, from beginning to end, should be her. He looked at Song Jiru. His eyes filled with tenderness and pride. It is she who has spent 10 years moving from being too shy to look anyone in the eye to standing on this radiant stage today. It is she who has healed countless people with her voice and given countless others courage. She deserves all the flowers, applause, and love. He paused, his tone serious. I should not, and do not have the right to overshadow her. The audience quieted down. Countless tear-filled eyes were focused on him. Let's do this. I'll play a piece of music for everyone. A piece that I owe her for many years. Perhaps he turns to the audience, his voice resonating in every corner. It's a piece written for all of us. Written for all the heroes who believe in light, chase love, and refuse to give up in ordinary life. As his words fall, the lights dim at the back of the stage. A spotlight shines down, illuminating the glossy black grand piano at the center of the stage. Su Yunju walks toward the piano. He sits down. His hands hover over the keys. He closes his eyes, takes a deep breath. His fingertips descend. The first note, like the birth of a star, bursts forth and brightens the night sky. Chapter 169. Turning love into an epic. The moment Su Yunju's fingers touch the cool keys, the last whispers in the entire auditorium vanish. The second note. The third note, flow like moonlight spilling, like a gentle stream. The melody unfolds tenderly, like a monologue in the deep night, like a gaze of long-lost reunion. My goodness. The students learning piano in the audience instantly cover their mouths. Is this counterpoint? Such complex improvisation. The right hand plays a lyrical melody in 6/8 time, while the left hand supports it with syncopated rhythms in 4/4 time. The girl beside him tugged at his sleeve, whispering, "What does that mean?" The boy takes a deep breath, suppressing his excitement. It means his brain is like two independent CPUs running in parallel. One side expresses emotion, while the other calmly structures. What kind of terrifying control over rhythm, harmony, and voice leading does this require? As if to confirm his exclamation, Su Yunju's hands begin to dance on the keys. Between the rises and falls of his fingers, what flows out is not just notes. It is time. It is memory. His gaze seems to pierce through the music stand in front of him, looking back over a decade to that girl in a corner of a classroom, trembling in fear at the sight of a bouquet of roses. The melody in his right hand suddenly shifts. It becomes gentle, clumsy, even a bit cautious. That was the earliest version of Song Jiru in his memory. The left hand suddenly introduces a very soft, heartbeat-like rhythm. Then the right hand melody accelerates abruptly. It becomes bright, joyful, filled with tentative courage. The notes begin to leap, like that girl he had half persuaded, half commanded to step out of her house for the first time. Nervously sweating as she stood in line at a bustling stall to order a bowl of noodles, shouting with all her might for a bowl of Dan Dan noodles. Immediately after, the musical mood takes a sharp downturn. The right hand plays a series of dissonant chords, tense, anxious, filled with a sense of struggle. That is the trembling fear she felt when facing troublemakers, the tight breath she took when she first sang on the street. The left hand's bass becomes heavy and oppressive, like the countless gazes and doubts cast from the outside world. Two forces clash on the keys, tearing apart. As the music enters the middle section, it begins to open up, becoming free and filled with hope. The melody in the right hand grows smoother and more confident, adorned with elaborate embellishments and rapid runs. Like a bird with increasingly abundant wings trying to soar in a broader sky. The left hand's accompaniment has become rich and varied, sometimes resembling applause, sometimes like waves, lifting the main melody ever higher. A breathtaking octave leap and rapid scale. A melody in the inner voice that requires the left hand to cross over to play alongside the right hand. Those trained in music are left speechless. The technical skill and musical expressiveness have reached the level of top professional performers. How much has she hidden? But this is not merely a display of technique. Behind every ornate phrase, one can hear vivid imagery. It's the stunning moment when she turned during the blind selection on Great Summer with a good voice, her clear voice piercing through the screen. It's her, draped in a galaxy of stars, singing Stars in the Sea with tears on the Spring Festival stage, her eyes filled with determination and deep emotion. It's her beaming smile when she lifted her first Golden Melody Award, hiding the longing for someone absent. It's every step she took over the past decade, moving from the shadows into the limelight. The emotions in the music keep accumulating, layering like a snowball, growing larger and heavier. The 30,000 audience members, regardless of their musical knowledge, were completely engulfed by this pure emotional universe built solely from notes. No one spoke, no one moved, not even a breath was heard. Everyone's soul was pulled into another dimension by that piano and those hands. In that space, there was a person who had been quietly watching for 10 years. A girl on her transformative journey from the Earth to the stars. Two hearts crossing the boundaries of virtual and real, time and space. A kind of love that could remain silent for a decade, only to declare its existence to the world in the most thunderous way tonight. When the final surge of emotion reached its peak, the music came to an abrupt halt after a breathtakingly glorious chord. Soo Yeon-ju's hands hovered just above the keys. Trembling slightly, the entire venue fell into a deathly silence. 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Then, applause, screams, cries, and roars erupted like a volcano that had been suppressed for billions of years. The sound was so loud it almost lifted the dome of the stadium. Glow sticks waved wildly, creating an uncontrollable sea of light. Countless people were in tears, yet they didn't know why they were crying. The live stream's comments exploded, and the servers were on the verge of crashing. This ISNTA performance, it's a miracle. Who still says July 9th is just about songwriting? This piano skill could launch a world tour. I declare this is the most shocking live performance I've ever heard. No exceptions. Jaru, did you see? He wrote the entire world for you. It turns out there really are people who can write love into an epic, of course. Not everyone listening and watching in real time was immersed in pure emotion. In Jiangnan Province, Binzhou City, at the Provincial Public Security Bureau's Criminal Investigation Technology Center, in a top-floor independent office, when she had just finished an online case analysis meeting regarding a cross-province serial murder case. Rubbing her throbbing temples, she casually opened the live stream of Song Jaru's concert. When the familiar melody, once played on the worn wooden table in her dormitory, thundered through the top-notch grand piano and sound equipment, she froze instantly, her eyebrows raised, her gaze sharp as a knife. Without needing to listen closely, she immediately retrieved the encrypted video file that she had never shown to anyone from her cloud drive. She clicked play. The video titled To Sister she began to play. In a shabby dorm room, dim lighting, she was wearing a tank top, her hands tapping out a magnificent composition on the wooden table. In contrast, in the live broadcast room, Soo Yeon-ju played fluidly in front of the luxurious piano. The melody, structure, emotional trajectory, and even several signature embellishments were identical. When she stared at the two screens, with her left hand on her phone and her right hand on her computer, watching for a solid minute. Then Xiao Zhou, a low growl, suppressed with anger, squeezed out between her teeth. She clenched her fists, her knuckles cracking. You plagiarizing old six, using the same piece to fool two women. And to sister she? In the midst of her burning rage, there was also a hint of indescribable frustration at being overshadowed. After all, the original piece tapped out on the table was worlds apart from the ultimate version, played on the grand piano, in terms of sound quality and impact. Next time we meet, when she ground her teeth, her gaze dangerous, her right hand clenched tightly. I won't let you off the hook. In a certain star-rated hotel suite, Shin Mingwei had just finished her night shoot, wrapped in a bathrobe, lazily leaning on the couch while a tablet played the live broadcast of the concert in Binzhou. When Soo Yeon-ju played the last note and the crowd erupted, her beautiful face showed no excitement. Instead, she pouted and tossed the tablet aside. Then, she turned around and, addressing someone behind her with her signature voice that carried a mix of adorableness and a hint of grievance, complained, "Master, you're too much." She picked up a soft pillow, resting her chin on it, her eyes filled with sorrow. You actually made me act out your love story in the movie. When writing songs for you was being filmed, I was so invested. She raised her delicate fingers to wipe away non-existent tears, fully displaying her acting skills. And what happened? The script became reality. The prototype is you and Sister Jaru. I looked at the camera, recited the lines, imagining that talented boy who silently contributed everything. Her voice choked, her eyes genuinely reddening. All I thought about was you. I thought you adapted it from our story and was secretly happy for a long time. She sadly buried her face in the pillow, her shoulders gently shaking. Whoa, I'm so sad. I helped you portray a legendary romance in the play, and outside the play, I have to watch you two end up together. I don't care. You have to comfort me well. Otherwise, she paused, a sly glint flashing in her beautiful eyes. On your wedding day, I'm going to crash it. Dressed in that wedding dress from the play, holding a child. Let us see how you wrap it up. Chapter 170. Everything has an explanation. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, Soo Qianran was not at the concert venue. Although she was an employee of a media company, theoretically tonight should have been one of the busiest nights for her as a backup staff member. In fact, this afternoon, she was no longer an employee of the company. A termination notice was delivered directly by the HR department, stating in black and white, due to inappropriate personal conduct that posed a potential negative impact on the company's image, and having faced multiple internal complaints during her employment, the management decided to terminate her labor contract effective immediately. When she received the notice, her mind went blank in an instant. Shouldn't she be dealing with a certain individual instead? Shouldn't she be angry at the fact that he was two-timing her and deceiving her feelings? Why was she the one being cut first? It dawned on her that she was simply in the way. She had feelings for him, and as his former girlfriend, continuing to stay in the company became exceedingly awkward, with the level of flattery that the other woman received from even the higher-ups. She felt utterly powerless and wasn't even qualified to struggle against it. With a pale face, she silently began to pack her personal belongings. The gazes from her colleagues around her were mixed with curiosity, sympathy, but more so a distant understanding that made her feel uncomfortable. Just as she was lost in thoughts about what to do next, a man in a suit with a serious expression appeared before her, handing her a legal letter. Ms. Soo Qianran. The man spoke calmly, handing her a business card. I am acting as the attorney for Mr. Soo Yeon-ju, commissioned by Ms. Lin Ruoxuan, to discuss some financial matters with you. Lin Ruoxuan? Who was that? How was she connected to him? Soo Qianran's heart sank to the bottom. In a cafe booth on the ground floor of the office building, The lawyer presented her with a clear account statement. It listed the amounts she had requested from